Hello and welcome to Wilson's World Afcon Daily, episode 13, on the first day of the last 16, where Senegal had a scare against Sudan, but still went through, and Mali went through after one of the most terrible games of football I've ever seen, beating Tunisia in what turned out to be a hilarious denouement, but really not a game of football anybody will be wanting to watch again. So yeah, Senegal fell behind against Sudan after 7 minutes. They lost possession cheaply, and Amir Abdallah of Avondale in Australia bent a magnificent finish into the top corner. Senegal had a problem throughout the first half with turnovers on that side. Their left, the Sudan right. They had a problem with turnovers on that side throughout that first half. They put it right in the second half, and they were creating chances anyway in the first half. They were 2-1 up by half time, 2 goals from Pape Gueye, both fine finishes, both from outside the box. The first set up by Sadio Mane and the second by Nicholas Jackson. Mane set up the third as well, as the 17-year-old substitute Ibrahim Mbaye continued the excellent impression he's made so far in the tournament. But that second game, the game in Casablanca, the game I was at, in the cold, in the rain, was an awful game of football, as so many Mali games are, as so many Tunisia games are. I think the expectation was it might be 0-0 in penalties. As it turned out, it was 1-1, slightly weirdly, in penalties. Mali were reduced to 10 men after 26 minutes. Wole Koulibaly, who had a really skittish, uneasy start to the game, he trod on Hannibal Mejbri's Achilles, I think rightly sent off. It looked a bit harsh when you first saw it, but then you see the replay, and I'm not sure it's deliberate, but he clearly does stand on his Achilles, the back of his ankle, and so I think a red card probably is right under the modern interpretation of the law. But Tunisia really didn't take advantage. Mali defended very well, you have to give them credit, but this was very typical Tunisia. It's as if they just would rather win in a scrap than win in a proper game of football. They're constantly spoiling, they're constantly squabbling, they're constantly going to the ground, they're constantly complaining to the referee. And you just sort of think, just play the game. You're better than Mali. You've got a man extra. You will win if you play properly. But they didn't do that. They should have won. They went ahead in the 89th minute when Elias Saad's chip was glanced in by Firas Shawat. And that looked it. You thought, well, that's it. 1-0, 89th minute. They're going to go through. They're going to play Senegal in the next round. And then there's a nothing free kick into the box from Mali. Yassine Maria, for some reason, flicks at the ball with his elbow. The handball's given. It's never going to be overturned. I think, to be honest, even if the referee hadn't given it, VAR might have given it. And Lassina Sissoko converts. That takes the game to extra time. You know neither of these teams are going to score twice in the same game. But then it goes to the shootout. Tunisia led after the first penalty. They were 1-0 up after a penalty each. They were 2-1 up after 3 penalties each. And they still lost. Jiggy Jara, the actually quite small Malian keeper, making an excellent save from the 5th penalty from Mohamed Ali Ben Romdan, which left El Bilal Touré to convert the winning kick. So it will be Senegal against their West African rivals, neighbours Mali, in the quarter-final. That game in Tangier. January the 4th, the 2 last 16 games, both in Rabat. You have the hosts, Morocco, playing Tanzania. This is the first time Tanzania have ever got to the last 16. Their league is getting stronger and stronger. I think it would be a stretch to say that's really translated to the national team, or that the progress of Tanzania to this stage for the first time suggests any real kind of progress. They only got 2 points, the lowest points total ever to go through in the African Cup of Nations as a third place team. And I think it's fair to say they rode the luck in that group stage. Their opponents hit the woodwork in every game. Each of those 3 group games, their opponents hit the woodwork. Morocco, they are the great underachievers of African football. There is a lot of pressure on them. They've only ever been in the quarter-final 4 times before, but surely they'll make that 5 by beating Tanzania on the 4th. Then in the evening, also in Rabat, in a different stadium, it's Cameroon against South Africa. South Africa looking for their 7th quarter-final. The last time they reached the semi before the last tournament in Ivory Coast was back in 2000. They've been in a real dip for over 20 years now. They are coming back. I think a little bit of disappointment actually in terms of how well they've played so far, but they have got room to grow, and they clearly are a decent side. Cameroon came in the tournament in chaos, if you remember, 2 different managers, 2 different squad selections handed into CAF. but that does seem to have been resolved. And they came second in a very good group, played pretty good football, unbeaten. So this is probably the pick of the last 16 games. We'll see how that goes. My accreditation, I know you're excited by that. I turned up at the office at 8 o'clock this morning, which was meant to open by 8:15. Meant to open at 8. Nobody there. Eventually persuaded the security guard to let me in. I hung around for about half an hour, and finally, just after 9 o'clock, they got up and running, and I got my accreditation pretty quickly in Rabat, and was able to take what I have to say was an excellent train to Casablanca, where it has rained all day. So let's hope for better weather tomorrow. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.